Today we're going to practice finding zeros of polynomials using the OMG math method. The equation we're given is x cubed plus x squared plus 3x plus 3. We're asked to list the possible rational zeros and then find all the zeros, both rational and irrational. The first thing we observe is that we're given a third-degree polynomial. Our mission is to find the zeros of this polynomial. Since we're given a third degree, we should know that we're going to have 3 zeros for this polynomial. Our game plan is first to use the rational root theorem, which is p over q. P represents the factors of the last term or the constant term. Q represents the factors of the first term or the leading coefficient. And then to find the zeros, we're going to follow this process. So first, let's write our rational roots. Our p value, or our last term, is 3, so the factors of 3 are going to be 3 and 1. Our q value, our first term, is 1, so its factors are 1 and 1. To write our fraction for rational roots, it's plus or minus the factors of p over the factors of q. Since q only has one factor, which is 1, our rational zeros are just going to be plus or minus 3 and 1 when we divide the numerator by all the numbers on the denominator. Our next step is to plug in one of our rational zeros and see if it makes the equation equal 0. Once we find one of these numbers that makes this equation equal 0, we know that is one of our roots. I'm going to start with -1. So I'm going to plug in -1 cubed plus -1 squared plus 3 times -1 plus 3. When I go through and simplify this, I get -1 plus 1 minus 3 plus 3. -1 plus 1 is 0. 0 minus 3 is -3. -3 plus 3 is 0. So I know I found one zero that works, which is -1. So I know -1 is one of my rational zeros. To find the rest of my zeros, I take the one that I got to work, so -1, and I use synthetic division to simplify my cubic equation down to a quadratic. For sake of room, I'm going to go through and erase what I have written down here so we can do that process. -1, when I use synthetic division, I take the 0, put it on the outside, and then to use synthetic, I take the coefficients on all the numbers and write those down. So the coefficient on x cubed is 1, then it's 1, 3, 3. Then I simply go through, drop the first number down. 1 times -1 is -1. 1 plus -1 is 0. 0 times -1 is 0. 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 times -1 is -3, and I get a remainder of 0. The last term will represent my remainder. This is my constant term, my x term, and my x squared. So I am left with x squared plus 3 when I do my synthetic division. So now that I have x squared plus 3 left, again I'm going to erase to make room. I take what's left and I set it equal to 0. Since I do not have a b value, I don't actually need to use the quadratic formula. I can just move the 3 over and simplify. So I subtract 3 from both sides. I get x squared equals -3. Then I square root both sides. When I square root, I get 2 answers, a positive and a negative answer. Since the 3 is negative, I have to pull an I out to get rid of the negative. And then, since I cannot simplify rad 3, I write rad 3 left. Now this is not an irrational zero, so I don't have any irrational zeros either, but I do have 2 complex zeros. Complex zeros are ones that contain I. So my last 2 zeros are going to be I rad 3 and -I rad 3. It doesn't matter if you put the I at the beginning or the end, just make sure you do not put it underneath the radical with the number. And then up here when it said list, we can put our list, which was plus or minus 3 and 1. So now that we have our list, we have 1 rational zero and 2 complex zeros. We have a total of 3, so we know we've accomplished our mission of finding 3 zeros. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. If you want to get better at math, subscribe to my videos here. If you want more information on math, click on my website link here.